My name is Samantha Lindsay, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my final business proposal. So first, this is my sister. I wanted to show you a picture of me and my sister. This is her extremely pregnant with her first child a few years ago. And the reason I wanted to show this picture is because I think it's oftentimes the people that we're closest with are the people that inspire us to bring good into the world, and they also reveal to us where our strengths are, and they help us understand how we can capitalize on those strengths. So it's through the relationship that I've had with my sister and a few other very close friends who recently had babies that sort of gave me the idea for this research project. So first, introduction. This research project is going to focus on the maternity clothing industry in the United States. The maternity clothing industry was slated to exceed $4.8 billion in 2015. The research project is going to focus on the viability of an online maternity clothing rental company within the United States. I want to know if it will work in the US and why it would or why it would not work. I'll be gathering data from magazines, newspapers, scholarly articles, and these will all highlight the importance of the industry. I'm also going to conduct a survey for women that are currently pregnant or have recently been pregnant. So what's the problem? Women don't want to spend a lot of money on maternity clothing. Oftentimes it's expensive, and there's not a diverse selection. And then according to researchers who wrote the article, The Role of Maternity Dress Consumption in Shaping the Self and Identity During the Liminal Transition of Pregnancy, there are 3 themes found in the consumption of maternity dress. The first is maternity dress consumption representing disruption in the woman I am most of the time. Maternity dress consumption to affirm one's new identity as a pregnant expectant mother. And finally, maternity dress consumption to maintain continuity in the woman I am most of the time. In other words, women not only buy maternity clothing because they have to, because their bodies are changing and they can't continue to wear the clothing they wear pre-pregnancy, but there's also 3 different themes that these researchers found in how women are buying maternity clothing and how they're choosing it. It's representing the disruption of the woman they are most of the time. So basically, it's representing a change in them, and they have to get maternity clothing to deal with that change. Another one is to affirm one's new identity. So this could be buying maternity clothing so that you can accentuate the baby bump, so that you can show off proudly to the world that you are very pregnant and you are very proud of it. And the third is to maintain continuity of the woman you are most of the time. In other words, buying maternity clothing that can sort of conceal or camouflage the baby bump, maybe because you don't want to talk about being pregnant, you're a very private person, and you still want to be seen as professional and a viable member of whatever group you're in, whether that's at work, whether it's at the gym, whatever. So statement of problem and research question. So the statement of problem is the maternity clothing industry is not going away. There is a market that has a lot of blue ocean for the rental model, and what I intend to find out is if the online maternity clothing rental company is viable and why. I will point out specifics based on my literature review as well as survey results. So my research questions are as follows. Is an online maternity clothing rental company a viable business in the United States? Why? So of course, with any research, there are some assumptions and limitations that come in. So the assumptions for this one are, this is a market that is not going away and is in fact a growing market. Women don't want to spend a lot of money on maternity clothing, but at the same time, they need clothing that fits their bodies as they change over the duration of their pregnancy. The limitations are, I'm unable to create a sample frame. Therefore, I can't send out a survey to a large sample base of women. And additionally, there's time limitation of about 7 to 8 weeks to finish this research project. So now I'm going to go into my literature review. There were 3 primary sources for my research that I got from Google Scholar. The first one is, I discussed a little bit earlier, the role of maternity dress consumption in shaping the self and identity during liminal transition of pregnancy. Second one is pregnancy and body image, analysis of clothing functions of maternity wear. And the third is gains from sharing, sticky norms, endogenous preferences, and the economics of shareable goods. So first, the role of maternity dress consumption shaping the self and identity during the liminal transition of pregnancy. This has 3 authors, and it was found in the Journal of Consumer Culture. So as I discussed earlier, there were 3 themes that were found in the consumption practices of pregnant women. Maternity dress consumption representing disruption of the woman I am most of the time, affirming one's new identity as pregnant expectant mother, and maintaining continuity in the woman I am most of the time. So women are going through this liminal transition in their life, and they're struggling with not only their changing bodies, but changing roles in life. So maternity clothing serves as a way to help women maintain the women they are most of the time, or create a new identity. So maternity clothing basically gives women a certain amount of control over their body, because their body is 100% out of their control right now. At least with maternity clothing, they are able to choose how they present themselves to the outside world. So the second article is Pregnancy and Body Image, Analysis of Clothing Functions of Maternity Wear. So this has 2 authors, and it was found in the journal Clothing and Textiles Research Journal. So, how women view their bodies during pregnancy. So interestingly, in regards to body image, pregnant women don't score lower or higher on their own body image as non-pregnant women, but they do feel more unattractive. So what this means is whatever your body image is before you're pregnant, generally speaking, it stays the same while you're pregnant. But you can feel more unattractive while you're pregnant because your body is changing. But you do know that it's not going to be like this forever. So maternity clothing function serves as comfort and assurance, a way to celebrate their pregnant bodies. And as I mentioned earlier, the industry size is $4.8 billion. The takeaway, maternity clothing serves a function for women to feel comfortable with their bodies and clothes that fit appropriately. As you and I all know, when we wear clothing that does not fit appropriately, we look silly, we feel silly, and it's just not good for anyone. All right, the third article is Gains from Sharing, Sticky Norms, Endogenous Preferences, and the Economics of Shareable Goods. This has 1 author, Anders Fremstad. He's a PhD candidate in the Department of Economics at the University of Mass Amherst. And this was found in the Journal of Economics at ScholarWorks at UMass Amherst. So he doesn't necessarily talk about maternity clothing, but he talks about underutilized goods, which I'm going to sort of draw a reference to. So underutilized goods are, some examples are fancy clothes and shoes, cars, electronics, and tools. Basically, it's something that you buy that you don't use all the time. So you buy a tuxedo or a ball gown, you wear that maybe once, twice, 3 times probably at the most. Maybe tuxedos get a little bit more wear than ball gowns. For your cars, you're only using that maybe to get to and from work and to run a few errands. Most of the time your car's sitting in your driveway. So what Fremstad says is, my results suggest that decentralized sharing is currently worth at least $179 a year to the 30% of Americans who borrow an item once a month or more. If new online platforms succeed in fostering substantial borrowing and lending among strangers, the mean household gains from sharing could exceed $1,000 annually. So right now there could be, decentralized platforms where a neighborhood might have an online forum where John has a chainsaw that Paul can use, and Paul has a power drill that John can use, and they use this platform to share things within the neighborhood. But if you could create a much more central and controlled website or a forum for sharing, he's saying that the savings could exceed $1,000 a household. So what does this mean to maternity clothing? Sharing is beneficial to everyone who's participating. Sharing is becoming overwhelmingly popular, which leads to the idea of sharing or renting maternity clothing rather than outright purchasing. if I could create an online platform where women can borrow clothes, rent them actually, for a short period, that make them feel good and look good, then I have a viable business. So now comes our section of research methodology. So I chose to do a qualitative research for this particular project. Why I chose this is I'm seeking to understand the maternity clothing industry, to identify the gaps of pregnant women, identify the needs of pregnant women, and identify gaps not fulfilled in the current industry design. My research design is scholarly articles pulled from academic databases and Google Scholar, as well as a survey that I created. So the next few slides are going to go over my design of the survey. So I used SurveyMonkey to create it, and it had 12 questions that were multiple choice, yes, no, or free text. I was seeking to understand or identify the following: needs of pregnant women, any gaps in the maternity clothing industry, how much money women spend, if women would be interested in renting maternity clothes, and what their ideal subscription plan needed. So I did some pre-testing and some piloting. So 3 women were piloted for this. One is currently pregnant, one had a baby about a year ago, and one had a baby about 2 years ago. So I asked these women the following questions. Does my paragraph explaining my research make sense? Do the questions make sense? Are they clear? Does the ordering of questions make sense? Am I not asking a critical question? If so, what am I not asking? So the reason I asked about the critical question is because I myself have never been pregnant, so I might have been missing something in my questioning that was quite critical, but in fact, when I got the responses back for the piloting, they all unanimously said that my introduction paragraph made complete sense, that my questions were clear and concise, the ordering made sense, and there wasn't really any critical question I wasn't asking. Something they did two of them pointed out was they did wear maternity clothing after they were pregnant, but I didn't really think that putting that into the survey was really pertinent. I really wanted to know when you start wearing maternity clothing, not for how long. So now we're going into survey results. I'm not going to go over every single question. I'm just going to go over a handful of what I feel like were the key questions. So I received a total of 38 responses. So the first one was, when asked at what month maternity clothing became necessary, 75% said between 4 and 6 months, which is actually right on par with a few of the articles I found that women, on average, start needing larger clothing or maternity clothes beginning at 4 months. When they asked how much they spent on maternity clothing, most respondents spent over $200. So this chart here shows what these women spent. A majority of them spent between $200 to $400 and then over $400. So that's a lot of money right there that they could be saving if they were renting, depending on the price point, obviously. When asked how they felt about having to buy maternity clothing and why they felt that way, there were 2 overall themes that I uncovered. The first one, they're excited. Of course they're excited. They're pregnant, maybe it's their first baby, maybe it's their second, but they're really happy. And for the first 3 months, a lot of times I hear women feel really crummy. Their bodies don't necessarily look pregnant to the outside world. So the fact that now their bellies are growing or their breasts are growing, they have to go find clothing that fits appropriately. And so they're excited that they're actually seeing the physical changes to their body that affirms the fact that they are indeed pregnant. They already know they're pregnant, obviously, but I think the actual physical manifestation of it is very exciting. But they're also annoyed. They're annoyed because the clothing is expensive and there's a lack of diversity in the selection. So a majority of the respondents said if they were given the opportunity, they would rent maternity clothing. So a little over 60% said yes, and about 37% said no. So in retrospect, I should have had a free text section for this so that they could explain to me why they would not want to rent. One woman said that she didn't like to wear clothes that other people wore because she felt like the clothing smelled weird. So, fair enough. But it would have been good if I understood why they would not want to rent. So how often did respondents want to receive a new set of clothes? A majority said every month. To me, this seems to make sense. It gives you enough time to wear the clothing pieces that you get a few times, but it's also a short enough time so that you don't get tired of the clothing. The types of item that they would want and how many of each were overwhelmingly pants, dress, and shirts. Pants, shirts, and dresses. So for pants, 3 to 4 pairs, half of the order would be jeans, the other half would be dress pants. Shirts, anywhere from 3 to 10. This depends on how long they're getting their box. And also the season. Again, same with dresses. Depending on the season, more dresses are needed, especially for the summertime. And then how do they want to pay for the service? Per item, per shipment, or per month? So the most popular was per item, that was 42%. Per month was 33%, and then per shipment was 24%. I think this would change if I had a price point in there, but that will lead into further research that I'll be doing. So now into my conclusions. So I do in fact think that this business would be viable in the United States. First, because it's a large market, there's room for change or disruption. Right now, maternity clothing is bought mostly at big box stores, specialty stores, or received from friends and family. So if there was something else I could throw in there where women could have a bigger selection and also not have to spend as much money and not have to worry about keeping the clothes after the fact, I think renting would work out quite well. And then, of course, there's the underutilized goods that I discussed earlier. To maximize the use of those goods by renting them time and time again ensures that the goods get maximum use. Maximizing the good is both beneficial to the consumer as well as the company. So, hypothetically, say this company buys a shirt for $40 and rents it out to 10 different women over time at $5 every time they rent it. The company makes $500 on that shirt. Actually, $460 on that shirt, and the women save $35 a piece because they're only paying $5 for that shirt as opposed to $40. So I think that's why renting is very beneficial. What else? Women are excited about being pregnant, but they're also frustrated with the maternity clothing industry as it stands now. There's a lack of options, it's too expensive, and they're unsure if something will fit a few months down the line. So if they go shopping at month 5 and they buy, $300 worth of clothes, they're not sure if at month 8 any of those clothes are going to be fitting. So it could just be maybe seen as a waste of money for them. So what I need to do is expand my research to get or understand the following. I want to understand the price point, subscription model, possible partners. By partners, I mean clothing companies, different stores, shipping companies, online companies, stuff like that. Inventory needs. How much do I need to have on hand all the time, and how much of each? Warehouse size. And then, of course, probably most importantly, the budget to start up this type of business. So ultimately, I learned that it's very important to understand the psychology behind my target market. In other words, how maternity wear and being pregnant affects women. It's important to understand this because it will help me understand my market more deeply and capitalize on that understanding. Mm-hmm. If I can tap into their psyche and help them feel more comfortable, attractive, and happy, all the while saving them money, then I have made a positive difference and created a viable, profitable business. Here's a list of my references. I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to and watch this presentation and listen to my iterations over the last 11 weeks. I really enjoyed doing this project. I enjoyed how the class was set up, and I actually really look forward to doing some more research on this in the future because this seems like something I would really enjoy doing as a career. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.